Are we live?
Welcome to Top Deck
Yep.
Heroes.
You're not Giggles.
Well, he's in a picture with Giggles.
We are very, very excited. Tonight we are doing our 2015 year-end wrap-up. All right, that's enough of that. But before we get into that, we do have some news to report this week.
What kind of news?
Something has arrived at the Jasco Games warehouse that we've been waiting for a very long time.
Indians?
Unfortunately, it's not the next UFS set.
Oh.
But it's close. If you're a Mega Man fan, you might like it even more.
So Jasco Games has received, as of yesterday, the first batch, or well, the production batch, I guess, of the Mega Man board game. Which is going to be good news for some people, not so great news for your large donors. They're going to have to wait a little longer, according to the report from Kickstarter. It looks like they're waiting on a couple of things to be produced still for the largest donors, such as the gold cards, the resin statues. And it sounds like there was also a little bit of confusion about the Robot Master cards for some backers being electronic only, I'm guessing? I don't know. I don't really know too much about it. Matt, you were talking about it a little more yesterday.
Yeah, I never actually got to look into them because I didn't actually back the game, so I didn't look into it that deeply. And it's also been 2 years since I've looked at the Kickstarter page.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what it is people are exactly talking about. I think maybe it's add-on cards for Robot Masters. Someone who's actually backed it and is getting their stuff tuned might know.
Okay.
But if there's anyone in the chat who would chime in, maybe knows. I mean, the person who posted on it also could have just been misinformed themselves in the first place. I'm not sure.
Well, we'll wait on that to see what ends up developing, and we'll report back next week. Other than that, I think that wraps up the news of the day as far as what happened with Jasco Games.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely something we should address. You know, that's a big deal for Jasco Games that they've got something to sell. They've got something to get in the news about. I mean, I think I'm very excited to play the game again. I played it at TrendCon, and it was a ton of fun. It was a blast. So it's gonna be awesome to see that in people's hands now. But the topic today is the year in review for 2015. So we're gonna talk about everything that's happened in UFS in the past 12 months.
And this year, I mean, I think overall, I think we agree that this year was a very good year for UFS.
Yeah, it's a good year to have been playing it. It's a great year to have been playing it, and there's been lots of great independent events that have happened. Lots of great, sets that have released, announcements that have been made, and the standard format has been incredible, I think.
So
it's been a mostly salt-free year.
Yeah, a mostly
There's
salt-free.
no such thing as salt-free. Like,
I mean, we live in Rochester. We've only had 1 day of snow, and there's salt everywhere. So let's go through the year in review. I know one thing before we get started, Kevin and I thought as we put the list of the top stories together is the beginning of the year for UFS seems so long ago.
Yeah, God. I guess it was just the last time I was in Las Vegas, but it feels it's only been 12 months. It's only been like 8 months since Origins and since the Atlanta Pro Tour, and like it feels so long ago.
Well, let's dive right into this. So, I mean, the UFS year began at the U.S. National Tournament in Las Vegas, Nevada. I mean, we had our first Turbo event, which was really awesome. The winner of the event was Jeffrey Giggles Khan with Sasquatch. If you choose to watch the video of the finals, you'll notice that Giggles, or Jeffrey, savagely cheated by accident and was not caught by himself, his opponent, or the pile of spectators around.
So yeah, this was he put a foundation that he blocked with into his staging area, and it was actually a copy of Motivation, which is a very powerful card in that format.
Mm-hmm. So either Giggles is extremely lucky or is a very good cheater.
He
Oh,
was just getting ready to use his ever hopefuls just a few months ahead of time.
and no doubt was he extremely lucky. He actually won every die roll in that tournament.
That is
So,
Jeffrey Kahn.
the man, the myth, the legend.
But the
Jeffrey Kahn.
person who got second place in that, Tim Keefe, he was playing basically the same deck, plus or minus a few cards, and lost every single die roll.
Oh wow, I
So-
didn't know that factoid.
Well,
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
so die roll isn't everything in Turbo.
Well, you know the old saying, better lucky than good.
Speaking of RNGesus and rolling dice and flipping cards, the singles event was won by Hutzel, and in the 70 plus player turnout for singles, one of the best turnouts we've had for a UFS tournament in many years.
The best in the Jasco Games era.
Best in the Jasco Games
Yeah.
era, yeah. And one of the other fun little stories of that was that also in the top 16, I think he actually got eliminated in the round of 4 or the round of 8, was a Caden deck that switched to Hutzel after sideboard.
Cadenzil.
Cadenzill, one of the worst probably one of the worst characters to ever top an event in terms of just like continued
Mhm.
performance after the fact or general power level evaluation.
So, Cadenzil, I mean, and then the big story following the event was Hoitzel almost immediately getting banned.
Yep, he got the axe.
He got the hammer.
You know, those
Which-
free damage pumps, those free card draws, people just can deal. They don't like it.
Though apparently they said it was at a more casual level, like it was turning people away at the lower tables than it was at the upper tables.
Yeah, it was really interesting. Like he won, and so there's always this bias to say, well, he won. Like that's the only way it could have come out. It wasn't skill. It wasn't chance. It was just like Hutzel was just the best. So whoever played Hutzel would win. That format really wasn't like that. I don't think. I mean, I know there were 3 Phil Birch decks that were within the top 16, and I think actually 2 or 3 of us were in top 8. But I mean, diversity means only one gets in. And you know he wasn't that good. He was just, you know, as you said, at lower skill levels you could build the best one I think was the Void build that played Concussion Blast, Harnessing Chaos, lots of damage pumps, Revoke. But the
The
build that was
Earthbird
really,
build was legit as hell, though.
yeah, the build where you got to play Lunar Catapult, Spinning Necro Driver, these cards that you know and love today, with +4 damage tacked onto them.
Trap Shot.
Sometimes
Trap
and this
Shot is a reverse.
enormous.
Ridiculous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this multiple 3 2 printed damage reversal that suddenly does 24 if you hit all the responses on it.
So,
I mean,
oh, go ahead, Hughes.
it would have been really nice to play with White still, with Darkstalkers and whatnot and Rise of the Masters out, because playing a fire build with him would have been so fun.
Well, he would have gotten a bunch of more flash attacks, wouldn't he?
Who cares?
not
I don't
really on fire.
know how much about that, not much, but you would have gotten things like Shield Ram and Metal Blade and Pharaoh Shot.
Yeah, basically the turbo
Like-
deck that you gave Jeff at Worlds.
Yes,
But
exactly.
Hey, we're getting ahead of ourselves here. So,
so yeah, Hutzel got axed.
Hutzel got axed. Shortly after, Kim won his first PTC of the year.
Episode
First of 4. Just would like to note that. And we'll talk a little bit more about character stats later on in the show. Unfortunately, after many delays, we finally, fortunately rather, got a set release in May with Rise of the Masters.
Yeah, so Vegas was early February, I think, this year. Schaumburg was maybe like March, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next big news was in May we finally had Rise of the Masters released. Big, just hot beef injection of new cards into the format. Lots of, you know, first tastes of Gemini Man and Skull Man and all kinds of other, all the fun toys in there.
So after the release of Rise of the Masters, we had our first extended championship in years. Those of you will remember that the last winner of extended was Matthew Curtis Turner with the die roll because nobody wanted to play in that awful format.
Yep, top 4 is like we're done with this. I'd rather just go home or go to the Ram or whatever because there's a Gen Con.
So
But this year at Origins Game Fair, we had there was a standard pro tour, and there was the extended championships, and there was a turbo championships, and the attendance at least was not record breaking by any means.
No.
But I managed to win that extended championship. Our good friend Ryan Field won that pro tour, but did not get a plane ticket for it.
he is
and
mad salty.
Thomas
It
Raw,
was.
turbo champion Thomas Raw, won the turbo event.
I think that was the first time I handed off the Snake Man deck to someone. Also,
Yeah, I think that was
that
the first
everyone loved so much for the
But-
next few months.
So yeah, Kevin Broberg won the first extended event with Garrett Brett because he's fair.
So
Wait, I thought players couldn't team up together.
Well, he was playing Garrett Brett's character card.
Yeah,
Oh.
I was like, I think I might have been Facebooking him the night before and said, yeah, if you want to have fun, you should like play Pharaoh Man with Turn Thruster or something. But Garrett Brett will win. So
So after that, Snake Man terrorized the Northeast for a little bit.
oh
winning
man, actually, if we're since we were talking about extended, I just want to point out that I also had I built the second place and third place decks in that event.
Congratulations. So
Great time.
Snake Man terrorizes the Northeast. Snake Man had some cool toys at the time.
Yeah, Snake Man, he's a story of this year because we talked briefly about having some forum salt discussions. There was some lively debate about Snake Man and how to beat him, what his weaknesses were, and kind of broader points about deck building philosophy and strategies and things that are kind of linear and you can kick the feet out from under them and adapting to that or whatever.
So during that time, Red Horizon, Tides of Vengeance, and the promos, the 7-point promos, all went bye-bye.
Yay!
It was a great time. Nobody was getting Divine Tribulation. My assets were safe for a little bit.
There were
For a brief
parties
time.
all over the galaxy. People took the Omniel statues and teared them down.
Yeah, no one got showed except for my opponents in extended.
There were Ewoks dancing.
So after the rotation was the ATL PTC.
And balance was not restored to the Force.
No, sir.
No.
So-
One Jedi who had been drawn to the dark side.
Two. There are always two.
There are always two. Garrett and Devin. They elbow dropped Atlanta with two Andy/Terry Andy decks making the top 8 using the People's Elbow. I'm not even going to say what that card is because it's too many words. And that plus Master of Magnetism making it unblockable, plus Mourning the Lost making it for your life total damage that you can't block.
And plus the all wall, the ever vaunted all wall to defend itself ad nauseum with lots of card draw and extremely effective speed redux and token trainings and all that fun good stuff.
It was a great time.
I had a lot of fun playing. I played actually 2 matches against it with Devin Bernier's Psyche deck, and it was competitive despite being an extremely bad matchup. They were no one like they told me going in, like they had tested it before and it was terrible for me. The card Astute Observer was really miserable for that deck to play against. But yeah, the story there is definitely just unblockable attacks, huge damage, and super defense forever. And the problems with unblockable attacks. In the aftermath of the moms getting dropped, the moms got dropped. Mourning the Lost and Master Magnetism both got banhammered, and that was about it for the summer. Really, I think we must have had a few more events that summer.
We had a few more PTCs. We had Warriors of the Night get released about a week and a half before the Rochester PTC. No, the day before the Rochester PTC.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, the official release.
We were shredding like that night. And you're like, all right, what are we going to play?
Yeah,
So
we had some minor set delays this year. I can't remember how bad Rise of the Masters, how long that was held back.
yeah, after such a long wait, the Warriors of the Night was a real quick turnaround, which I think people had kind of hoped that would mean sets coming more often at a consistent pace. But as we continue, we'll find out that's not the case.
Yeah, but
So-
we did get that. That was a thrilling event. Snake Man Terror won the roster pro tour. That leads us up to the big one.
Gen Con. So Gen Con was interesting this year because if I remember correctly, I was a scorekeeper, and we actually contracted a little bit. We actually had a couple less people register for Gen Con this year, if I remember correctly, which was kind of a big deal because that's never happened. We've always, in the Jasco Games era, gotten bigger, and this year we shrunk by only like 1 or 2 players, but we did shrink nonetheless.
Yeah, the growth ceased.
I do know there was one big reason, in the fact that the Marvel's Verse System 2.0 came out, and that drew a lot of people.
Well, they had a 10K tournament like the weekend it came out.
Yep. I almost considered changing my mind.
Yeah, some games just have a giant marketing budget to throw it and just to give away to players for showing up at their events.
So at Gen Con, we had, like I said, a slightly smaller turnout.
Still plenty enough to have top 16 cuts though. It was
Garrett Brett won Gen Con with himself, because that's fair. And he defeated the Snake Man Menace in the final round.
UFS players just like playing with themselves.
Garrett Brett especially, let me tell you.
Yeah, he likes to make it last a long time when he does it.
He had to beat Paul Bitter playing himself. Get there. That was Jeffrey Kahn, yeah. Anyway.
So, other than that, there are some big things announced at Gen Con. We announced some new licenses. Cowboy Bebop, Mortal Kombat, and Street Fighter for UFS. They announced a tabletop tactics game, and it looks like Dragon Ball Z is going to be like the big front runner because they were announced together. They were announced together.
Yeah. Well, what it is they were announced together because they have the rights for DBZ as a miniatures game right now, and like Angry Joe's, if anyone knows who he is, he's a big celebrity for video games and some board games, and he's working on it, and he's been promoting it as the Street Fighter vs. Mortal Kombat vs. DBZ game.
It's pretty accurate.
Which leads me to wonder if Cowboy Bebop is actually not a part of that yet, or if he just forgot to mention it.
Yeah, I mean, they don't.
Kickstarter's supposedly going up in February, so.
Only time will tell.
Yep.
Oh, and
yeah. So we had huge announcements. It was pretty wild standing in the card hall when these got announced.
Hungry Nerd wants us to remember that Top Gun was also announced.
Yep.
Oh, that's right. The
Top Gun card game.
One thing that makes me sad though is we still don't know what's going on with any of these things at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last I knew with Top Gun, Paramount had a bunch of issues with the packaging and a couple symbols. Paramount, I know, is incredibly slow with those kind of things because they own the rights for like Star Trek. So there was a lot of issues with the Star Trek card game years ago with Decipher. Sometimes things would take a while. So I don't think that's necessarily Jasco Games' fault.
And the last big thing at Gen Con was new champ cards.
Yep.
We got the Golden Ticket.
Sweet Baby Challenge.
Busted. Sweet Baby Challenge, busted. Joku and You, that card's completely fair. And Basilio is too fair in the Evernote full format.
Yeah, Basilio San Juan wasn't actually released there because he wasn't there in person, but he eventually became, he came out, he was spoiled, and he eventually entered rotation.
You guys are forgetting Jeremy Ray.
Oh, and Jeremy Ray, who's
pretty easy to forget Jeremy Ray.
Very forgetful. He's like the final boss of getting mentioned in champ card lists.
No, I don't know. I like his character card, and
no, his character's wonderful.
His character card's fine. It's just
like
it's easy to forget because nobody plays it.
Like I remember him
as cool as a whale and an octopus fighting.
I remember him talking nonstop about how he wished he could play Into the Sunset with his character card, and now we can.
Yeah, jeez. How do you kill Jeremy Ray through Hanya double Into the Sunset when he's at 16? You just don't. You just pack up and go home.
Let's see. After Gen Con, some things happened. Old champ cards went bye-bye.
Yep.
That was a big change to the meta because
Yes,
a lot of those
that was
champ cards were incredibly powerful and were staples on their
yes,
symbols.
absolutely. Those almost more than half of them, I think, were absolute staples. Even some of the worst characters, like Tim Keefe, had long been a running joke of the community. He topped several events consecutively. He very nearly won a couple pro tours that season.
He did win a pro tour. I'm pretty
Oh
sure.
yeah, he did.
Yeah, I think so. We'll have to check our fact checking. Continue, and I'll check.
Uh, there were numerous, like almost all of the foundations were absolute staples. Last Ditch Gamble was an incredible aggressive card. Cataclysmic Force is an incredible control card. Matter of Heads and Tails was one of the best speed redux cards ever printed.
Millennium Games and Hobbies was so good against characters.
Yeah, if that champ card rotation hadn't happened, maybe we wouldn't have needed the eventual bans on Gemini Man. If we would have had the anti-stacker technology available to us before then.
So the fact checks are done. Tim Keefe did not win any PTCs.
Yeah, I know he got a marker.
He got close.
Second place at one. Whoa, there's a big spider on my table. Cool.
He made 3 Top Cuts appearances this year.
Yep, I know one of them is at Worlds with actually I think it was at the Rochester Pro Tour and then at Worlds, which were roughly the same build of the deck, and then there was one in a Chaos build that topped the California Pro Tour. The Chaos build was actually really sweet. It had 4 main deck Chaos jackets.
It's nice times.
Pretty exciting.
So
Chaos jackets
those champ
so
cards
hype.
were an enormous shift in the metagame, and coming right after a major set release.
Yeah.
No one knew what was going on for a long time.
So on the heels of Gen Con, we knew there was going to be another Mega Man set called Battle for Power.
I gotta get up. Be right back.
In addition, right after that announcement, Jasco Games announced that Worlds and U.S. Nationals were going to flip-flop. So the Las Vegas venue was going to become the Worlds venue, and Gen Con the U.S. Nationals venue. That's a mixed bag.
I still don't see the point. It's just for posterity, I guess.
More or less. I mean,
'Cause
if we ever had a large international presence, Las Vegas is a very easy city to fly into.
Yeah, but Gen Con's Gen Con.
Yeah, we got U.S. Nationals there. Gen Con's Gen Con. From what I've heard from vendors at Gen Con, dealing with the convention itself is a real hassle from start to
Yeah.
finish.
Yeah.
So
It's because of how big it's gotten over the years.
so that happened. We had the Indies license announced. We were going to be getting some characters from Level 99 properties.
Which all looks so awesome.
Yeah, which were recently spoiled on our sister show. Well, not really our sister show. Another show, Total Justice Gaming.
Yeah.
So we're very excited to see those
Yeah.
those actually get released pretty soon in the near future. But in 2015, all we had was that it's coming, and to expect it soon. And we're still
They've got one more day to release it. You never know. They could change their minds. They could go on drive-through again, anyways.
So yeah, after Gen Con and after all of the the announcements, the words that were passed around from Jasco Games about all kinds of different stuff, there was a lot of organized play going on at the end of the year. I think there was a lot of energy in the community after Gen Con.
There were
And
back-to-back PTC wins by Kim.
Yeah, I'm
Is
seeing
she
a lot of
getting-
things that start and end with Kim here.
Yeah, that's because Sean O'Brien is salty about Kim, and he in our notes he wrote down every event that Kim won and none of the events that anyone else won.
So
Sean
something
O'Brien.
that's actually relevant to the end of your wrap-up. In November, Rochester CCG held the first independent UFS tournament. First independent UFS major.
Yeah, people have run like, I'm not sanctioned by Jasco Games. Let's go have an event in my backyard. They've never had an event that was publicized to this scale, that had people traveling from this scale. We had people from Las Vegas coming up. We had people. I remember at the start there were some Californians or Omahaians. I don't know if we had very many of those
They
show up.
failed.
Yeah,
A bunch of Canadians showed up.
yeah, a bunch of people we never even knew were playing. we saw the premiere of Gutsman that now
Da-da!
Swiss Champ Nashville, in 2 events, 2 top cuts with a character no one else has ever played. That's pretty amazing from a new relatively new player.
Yeah.
pretty hype.
They're going to be a force to be reckoned with if they continue playing like that. So the first 2K had a turnout of somewhere in the low 30s. That was pretty exciting. We're hoping for a larger turnout at the next Pro Tour, not next Pro Tour, the next 2K in Las Vegas in May at Level Up Expo.
Yeah, and there were speaking of Pro Tours, I think there were 5 or 6 events that all had 20 to 30 people in that kind of range in attendance. So that's it's really good to see that people are going out playing UFS and competing for real prizes.
So after the 2K, things seemed like they were going to be quiet for the rest of the year until the giant surprise State of the Game in December.
Yeah,
which completely shook up the world. Large selections of Red Horizon and Tides of Vengeance became legal again.
Yep.
And
I can't quite say all of your favorites, but some serious fan favorite cards from those sets, and none of the cards that really made everyone miserable just to have them around. None of the things that Sean O'Brien would put on this list 4 times if they won.
Chasm Buster came back.
I'm like, Chasm Buster, hello?
Hey, Chasm Buster's fun.
That card's almost as bad as Zime's Wheel Kick.
I agree.
That card's...
And in addition to that,
I'd probably be slightly less salty if I could find my Chasm Busters, but...
I recommend rochesterccg.com/Tides
Nope.
of Vengeance.
Nope.
I recommend
Bought
Rochester
way too much
CCG, drive-through cards, or asking anyone else for them.
Nope.
So
I actually asked for Necrodivers.
So on top of the major unrotation with the Red Horizon sets being reintroduced, it was a huge surprise to everyone. A slightly less huge surprise, the 2 S-tier characters that were widely agreed to just be the best available, Gemini Man and Skullman, were removed from the format as well a week before the Nashville Pro Tour. And then,
3 weeks after they were given out as promos at the Rochester 2K. No, I'm not even mad about it. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you are.
So yeah, that was a little less a little more expected than all these cards coming back into standard.
Yeah, honestly, my feeling is that Gemini Man and Skullman, neither of them were necessarily overpowered. The format was excellent even with them in it. And I wonder, I haven't played with them. I haven't tried this at all. I wonder if they became a little bit too much with those Red Horizon cards that they wanted to keep, and just the fact that they were, S-tier characters made them to that point.
Yeah.
His Gemini Man's Chasm Busters would have been really good.
Yeah, they apparently said Chasm Buster alone warranted him being banned. I responded with that by saying, so why not just ban Chasm Buster or not let it come back? And they just ended the conversation there.
Sounds about right. Chasm Buster's great. You can't hate on Chasm Buster.
If you do, you just get ignored.
And then Skullman, he's one of those characters that he just gets that much better the more cards are in the card pool. So I pretty much agree with him being banned.
So yeah. Anyway, those things happened after that huge metagame shakeup that we're still feeling the aftershocks of today in a big way. We only had one event, and we're only going to have one major event, I guess, leading up to the first event of 2016.
And surprise, who won Nashville? Kim. Surprise.
Hey man, like on top of not liking this whole being super salty about everything, that's my boy Clint Badger winning Pro Tour. He's like, you can't be mad.
I can be happy that Clint Badger won, but not be happy that Kim won again. He's fine. He's great for the format. And then our last bit of news, our last top story for the year, the board game finally arriving at the Las Vegas warehouse.
Yep.
So that's a lot of stuff that happened this year.
Yeah, it's been a big year for the game. A lot of big things have happened, and a lot of small things have happened too. So.
I think especially once the champ cards rotated, standard was really 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 good, and I think it's
Yeah,
still really good.
yeah. I think the champ cards just made a lot of things kind of. I don't want to say stale or anything like that, but there were a lot of easy decisions if you wanted to build a deck that did a certain thing. You just started it with I know Ryan Field has built a bunch of decks like this where the first 20 cards all had champion faces on them.
Yeah, I remember he had his Reese deck. I think 44 of his cards.
No,
No, I'm
That's
sorry.
not possible.
it was the number I
Way
believe
around,
was
I'm sorry.
20.
Like 18 or 20.
Yeah.
Over a third, over a quarter of
Yeah.
his deck was just champ cards.
If I
Yeah,
remember, the exact number was 26
Yeah, and that's really
because there were some
remarkable
things he didn't run a full
considering
set of.
there are no champ attacks. He wasn't playing a champ character. There weren't very many champ foundations on those symbols, but he still jammed all of those in there.
Yeah. So I think once they were gone, we had a very good standard. I think from there on, standard was very good, and even before that, standard was fine.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it.
I felt
Yeah,
like it kept
sometimes-
getting better and better. I think standard got better when the 7-point promos rotated with Red Horizon and Tides.
Standard got better just when they added when Rise of the Masters got introduced. I thought that set was incredible.
Standard got better when the champ cards left. And we still haven't figured out what's going to happen now that the old cards are back. A lot of the cards I think people kind of dreaded that left didn't come back. No Harnessing Chaos, no Blazing Storm, no Divine Tribulation, no Omniel. And I love Omniel, but I dreaded playing against him. He was just unpleasant.
No breakfast. Fuck breakfast.
Well, with Breakfast and Mourning the Lost are gone, we did get another card that kind of has a similar effect. At least
Yeah,
the first part.
For sure. One of the kind of one of the small things that happened this year was that we had monthly prize support promos for most months, mostly during the month, whatever like that. But we got completely new, completely just unique mostly role player kind of cards like Kersplat. I think Kersplat fits.
That's the best attack at standard is Kersplat.
Yeah, because it fits in 14 different ways and even more now that we have Superior Technique.
It does everything.
Everything except murder your opponent dead like Divine Tribulation.
Beep beep.
So yeah, we had cards like Summer Heat, Kersplat, more cards with the all in life symbols, cards even that didn't have those symbols.
That's something we missed from Gen Con. Sagaki offering coming back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It would be just playing back now, anyways. But
yeah,
with
got
white Sagakis.
an early preview of the reintroduction.
So
So, do you guys have anything else for the year in review wrap up for things with other events that happen, other noteworthy happen?
I'm gonna predict that tomorrow Chasm Buster just gets banned.
I'm
Right?
going to predict that no.
Would you like to place odds on that? Because I would bet you, I would gamble.
No,
Well, then you
My-
don't really believe it.
Disney owns all of my money.
I'll take you on for merchandise.
Perhaps
Sean's owns all my extra merchandise.
Yeah, that's why you don't gamble your extra merchandise. You gamble stuff you care about. Anyway, you want to talk about some statistics from the year?
Yeah, so
Someone
Kevin
had a
and I
mathgasm.
wasted a lot of time. We prowled around on the forums to see, what players and what characters did the best this year. And let's start talking about characters. As we all know from Sean's Salt Train through the year, the most winningest character this year of majors, which includes PTCs, singles for Worlds and Nationals, and the Rochester 2K, the most winningest character is Kim.
And yeah, so just to clarify on our methodology here, this is just the final results of tournaments. So perhaps Kim was like 2-2 in all of his Swiss rounds, but then won out in top 8. That wouldn't be we wouldn't be able to predict that compared to someone else who had gone 4 in all their Swiss rounds and then lost in the top 5 or something like that. But yeah, Kim won the most events. That much is it's clear and night and day ahead of everyone else.
I think the reason why Kim does so well is, especially up until recently, he just does something different. He's incredibly consistent, except he's kind of not.
I actually disagree. I think the reason that we see Kim up here is that he builds himself.
Well, if I'd have gotten to the end, I would have said that the Kim recipe is pretty much done. There's not a ton of wiggle room for innovation.
I actually
And
disagree with that still too. I think I know in Nashville we saw improvements on Kim, but the basic game plan. I think UFS is a great game. There's always room to find one little more edge, but it's definitely that if you want to build a basic Kim deck, you can only go so wrong.
And Kim's game plan, his actually playing him, you're really only doing one thing, two things. You're staying alive and getting 2 kicks into your hand. And he has this level of eventuality that and we've talked about this before, if you're not aggressive towards him, a lot of decks can get into positions where they can't not die. Not to say all of them.
Yeah, I think. How's your Kim versus Clark matchup, Sean?
Well, Kwang Shang Nim makes it
All right, yeah.
a lot harder for
I'll
Clark to not die, but Kim still has to count to 34, doing 4 damage at a time.
Yeah.
Well, no, doing like 8 damage at a time because he always has that one check in his hand for plus 8,000 damage.
Yeah, Kim is always lucky.
I mean, I feel like
Never
a lot of the things that give Kim trouble, he has answers a lot of time, even in his own support, to stop it.
Yeah, he was definitely engineered to be a competitive deck out of the box with only his own stuff, and getting more and more tools from everyone else only helped him. But I think yeah, really the reason we see him 4 times up here is just that you can build a deck that can actually spike an event. If you just get you draw that one check instead of checking it all the time, and with Kim a lot easier than with a lot of other characters, and that kind of if I want to build a competitive Life Athena deck, it's a much more weird and kind of subtle and like thing that everyone else isn't going to find. I think only 2 Life Athena decks have been registered this year in tournaments. I could be wrong about that, but
you can do so much. I mean, you can't say, well, I'm going to build a Kim deck, but instead of kicks, I'm going to do throws. I mean, you don't have that option with him.
Yeah, or like if you want to how many Lilith is on here too. Lilith won 2 events, which is very good across the whole range of the year, and performed very well at a lot of other events on top of that. But you can build a bad Lilith deck a lot easier than you can build a bad Kim deck. It's a lot easier to go off the path that leads to the most success with Lilith.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of why I think that Kim is really. That's why we see Kim up here, is that he's the deck that is comparatively very easy to construct and then to play. At a level that will let you beat people who are really competitive players.
And I feel like with Kim too, not to beat a dead horse, but he's one of those decks where like practice can make perfect very quickly. Just learning and doing it over and over again to find every little increment of advantage. I feel like there's a lot less stuff that could just go wrong for him.
Yep. But so.
And then sorry.
Yeah, we also had I was going to move us along. So we had 2 more winning X characters, 2 wins apiece. Is that right?
That's
right
correct.
Yeah, Lilith and Snake Man.
Yeah, Snake Man. So on a little bit of a different metric, which is actually, now that I'm taking into account, the Kim won 4 times, we have the characters with the most top cuts appearances, who just showed up in an event and made it to the top spot. And who isn't on here, Sean O'Brien?
My computer screen it's glitching out a little bit here. I can't quite make out the list.
It's Kim. Kim is only has he topped 4 or 5 times and then won 4 of those.
Well, according to my research, Kim has shown up 5 times, so he just missed the list.
Yeah, so he has only failed to win an event at which he made it to top 8 in 1 time, which is a completely ludicrous statistic. That's the kind of thing where You know, if we ran this year in these tournaments again 100 times, there's no way that would be true again. You'd never like. There's no way Kim would win 4 out of 5 times. That's just there's too much RNG in UFS for that to happen again.
Well, I mean, it's
But
the only deck Dan Hughes knows how to play. So any event he shows up to, he's just going to win with Kim. He's probably logged more games with Kim. I don't even know. Kim every day, all day, every day. Kim solitaire with Kim.
he might have logged less games with anything that isn't Kim than anyone else.
So the character that showed up the most is Gemini Man.
Yep. So Gemini Man.
What?
Gemini Man,
Go ahead, Matt.
9 appearances.
Yeah. 9 appearances, but he's not in the top 3 of top winning characters.
Well, that clearly means that we should only ban characters that don't win tournaments. So we should ban Quick Man. Clearly.
Don't touch my Billy.
No.
My boy.
Billy-
Josh would be so upset. You got rid of Billy.
So yeah, Gemini Man, he appears a lot. He only missed, and here's we got one thing to consider. We had in our statistics 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 events, 16 events this year.
Not all of which had Rise of the Masters legal,
That's correct.
and he got banned for the last one.
So he was only legal for 12 events and made top cuts in 9 of them. Gemini Man, he was, as we all know, was a 7-hand sizer. His ability was really strong. He had a good defensive game. He also had a good offensive game. And they weren't necessarily exclusive.
Yeah, so Gemini Man, I think if you went to any event in the time period he was legal, someone would have signed up with him. And that's not true of a lot of other characters who are actually extremely good. But you can build it, you know, I was saying about Kim, you can build a Kim deck, and it's hard to go wrong. It's kind of hard to go wrong with Gemini Man too, but it's also hard to go, you know, straight down the perfect path with him too. And I think that's the really big difference between them. Is you can build a deck, you know, with 20 attacks, and who cares what 20 attacks there are? Gemini Man will kind of make it work a little bit.
Mhm.
Building the very best Gemini Man deck to really take down those tournaments is much harder.
And that best Gemini Man deck was engineered by Shane Duckworth.
Yeah, and here's the thing I want to know. How many of those events, of those 9 events, involved Shane?
Well, while you guys keep talking, I can run that math for you.
So I can tell you that at least 2 or 3 of them were the top cut appearances were the evil Gemini Man build.
Mhm.
I know Worlds, actually, yeah, at least 3 of them. So the Worlds, the Origins Pro Tour, and the Pro Tour Atlanta were all evil. And, you know, he plays very well at those events. I know he got second place in Atlanta, losing a narrow, you know, winnable game against the Master Magnetism deck. You know, the evil build with Revoke and his ability and Powerful Assassin to play defense with, and, you know, the explosive MM copy into Give Up Yet into Ice Slasher kind of game. It is a very, very powerful deck. There wasn't just Shane playing this character by any means.
I know.
The numbers have come back, and Shane was responsible for 5 of the 9 top cuts appearances for Gemini Man.
Like, what I kind of want to get
Is
as
he
is
actually
that
playing Gemini Man in all those events? Are you sure?
yeah,
Going
he's
to
only he's played Gemini Man just as much as Dan has been playing Kim. He hasn't been changing his deck. Like, what I want to get at is maybe it's not the characters, maybe it's the players.
We'll
Not-
discuss
not to-
that a little
not
in
to-
a little bit.
Yeah,
Matt.
not to blow up egos, but
We'll check on that here in a little bit. Other characters who frequently make top cut appearances. Snake Man appeared 7 times this year, and he's still totally legal. I love Snake Man. His game plan is almost as straightforward as Kim's, but you have more options.
Mhm.
I mean, clearly the best thing right now, I think, is still Murakumo.
yeah.
When his move comes in for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 damage.
If you don't play any attacks before it, and you have the full multiple, it's 25 damage total.
And so, I mean, I think this year, as far as Snake Man goes, I think the success story for him is Jeffrey Kahn.
Yep.
He beat up a lot of kids with Snake Man. He won a pro tour with it, made it to the final table at Gen Con with Snake Man. But like I had predicted before Gen Con, I'm not sure, especially with the champ card still being legal and Garrett Brett. I knew Snake Man would do well, but I don't think he's at that level where he's just going to win a lot. I think his game plan is vulnerable with multiples. There's the Scorn Beauty, Revoke. There's a lot of things that can just make Snake Man stumble.
Yeah.
He does have quite a few answers as well, but if if the stars don't line up well for him and he can't keep his momentum, he could have a rough go.
I mean, if there's enough momentum generation, he can gain it all in one turn.
Well, perhaps Mr. Khan should try to actually win Worlds this year with Snake Man, if you're still so confident in him.
I think I am.
Yeah, Rochester only cares about winners.
Oh man, so tied for 6 appearances apiece, we have Felicia, Garrett Brett, Lilith, and Terry. And an interesting thing about Terry, 5 of those appearances were Miles Tyler.
Yep.
Plays to my conversation I want to go to.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
No, I know.
Felicia has definitely been in a lot of other hands. Garrett Brett has been into a lot of different hands. Garrett Brett he gets all around.
I mean,
Felicia
everybody's
and Garrett
with
get around.
What was that, Matt?
Felicia and Garrett Brett get around.
Yeah. And by the way, I believe from counting, only 3 of the Gemini Mans were Shane.
Fact checkers check back in again. Very good. Thank you, Kevin.
You got it.
So those are the characters who performed really well this year. We'll see what 2016 brings, and we'll see what Worlds in Las Vegas brings. Which of those characters will make top cuts? Which will win? Or will there be a dark horse?
I would
Gutsman
take anyone
2016.
on. What?
Gutsman 2016.
Oh man.
Not really a dark horse, but I think there are some very good contenders that aren't on this list, just from watching the Vegas stream and some other things.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, don't take this to mean that these are the 6 best characters in the game.
Not even
Garrett
close.
Brett rotated out.
I mean, close up behind, I just want to go a little further down the list. With 5 appearances each, there's Kim and Iori. And then with 4 appearances, we have Gutsman, Mai, Skullman, who's banned, Athena, Ringman. I mean, this is a very small sample size. The format's really wide open.
Yeah, and also, yeah, if we're talking about statistical confounders, lots of these are. I know Ringman has been in at least 2 different builds, the life build and the all build. Athena's had multiple different strategies, and there's just been a lot of different sets and different card builds available at different times.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just a kind of a fun fact.
Don't take this all to heart. So let's move on to player statistics. So I'd like to congratulate Rochester's own Jeffrey Giggles Khan with 3 major wins this year.
And I just want to interject to say that we didn't pick these categories after running the numbers. We picked the categories first and then did the numbers afterward.
Mr. Khan won the Turbo event at U.S. Nationals. Another mention, though we did not calculate teams victories, he did win the teams event at U.S. Nationals.
Yeah, that was actually the biggest thing that we didn't touch on in this summary. Now that I'm realizing is you guys, Team Rochester. Do you guys actually have a name for your team? I can't remember.
Best for Business.
Team Best for Business won U.S. Nationals in Las Vegas last year. Team Nationals and Team Lion Stance ran it back for like the 400th time at Worlds this year. Ben Shoemaker, Drew Maffei, and
Wagner.
Wave Dagner.
Hey, we kept Michigan from getting another one of those. That was the important thing.
That's what counts.
We bounced them out in top 4. So Jeffrey Khan, he won Turbo at Las Vegas with Sasquatch. He won the Rochester PTC with Snake Man. And he won Turbo again at Gen Con with Weitzel.
Yeah, so if we're only counting real events, he's not even on this list. But you know, whatever. Turbo's fun. It's really exciting, and I've had a great time playing it. We should play more often.
Now the next lot, all tied at 2, and also consider we only looked at stateside tournaments. So anything that happened in the UK or Canada does not count.
Yep. And
Are you
so-
saying those countries don't matter?
I'm saying I'm an American, and when I watch the BBC World News, I only want to see American stories.
and
That's-
and make sure we're not again because this is over a long period of time, and it's been mostly it's been pro tours. You know, no one's won back-to-back major like super majors. No one has multiple cardboards inside this year.
Last year, maybe.
We don't talk about that. So we have 4 players here.
Wait.
Is that right?
Yes, we have Shane
Hush.
Duckworth with 2 wins.
Yep, winning the Omaha Pro Tour at the start of the season with Kim.
Kim.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, beating me in the face with Kim.
And winning the Rochester 2K with Yemeni Man.
Wait a sec,
I mean,
What?
Sean O'Brien. I think you screwed this up.
Did I?
I think Shane Duckworth has 3.
Oh, oops.
Let me double check if he won. Yeah, he actually won. He actually won Omaha with Death Garrett, the old Entangled Divine Tribulation Misery deck with Mourning the Lost Garrett and Mourning the Lost Balance Sweater Garrett. Which was the event after the event he also won, winning in the finals in Schaumburg with Kim over me playing Death Garrett. So he actually had,
Also-
Shane Duckworth actually won 3 real events this year.
also, if you guys do decide to count the UK, Garrett did win back-to-back Super Major Championships.
That is true. Yeah, you're right. He actually won 2 character cards.
Back-to-back-to-back.
Well, I mean,
Well, no, he didn't. He didn't win U.S. Nationals, so he only won 2 consecutive.
Oh,
character
right.
cards.
U.S. Nationals.
Right,
Forgot
right.
that in between.
other folks with 2 wins this year, we've got Dan Hughes, who won twice with Kim.
Yeah. Brandon Jones. who
Brandon
won-
Jones won twice with Lilith.
Yep, that deck is insane. If you guys didn't know, Water Lilith, End Cells, pick it up. Oof, sick nasty.
And Kevin Broberg, who won twice. He won with Garrett at Extended, and he recently won at Rockford with, I don't even remember.
Life Athena.
Life Athena. How many foundations are in that deck?
Oh, a normal number.
Oh, you didn't play the super fun one?
Oh.
Okay.
Life Athena is super fun, dude. The total printed damage in that deck is like 50.
So, one thing that I think is important to note here, one of the things Jason said when he did his State of the Game was that playtesters and friends would not, and staff in particular, would not be able to.
Yeah, so they're drawing a bright red line between players of the game and people who help make the game and make the game happen. So playtesters, designers, and tournament staff are not going to be allowed to play in events anymore, and that's a big change. I don't think it's not really it's kind of like an open secret that a lot of the top players have been playtesters in the past.
We're not allowed to say who.
Yeah,
but-
we have NDAs. We can't say who. You can find out that information through various avenues that we're not going to talk about because that would also breach. But it's out there. You can find it if you try. And so that's not going to be the case anymore. There's going to be an even playing field for everyone, and I think a lot of the same players are still going to keep winning a lot because there's a level of understanding and mastery of the game that you can really develop over a long time playing it, and that's why those people were chosen to be playtesters because of that mastery of the game. And it didn't go the other way around where they anyway.
So that's one thing to take note of. Most top cut appearances. We see Mr. Kevin Broberg at the top of the list with 9 appearances, tying Gemini Man.
I think 2 of those were with Gemini Man.
Shane Duckworth made 7 top cuts appearances.
It's really not fair though because I didn't get banned and I didn't get introduced to the format only a few weeks into the Gemini Man's way better.
Shane Duckworth had 7 appearances. That's tied with Snake Man.
Tim Keefe in a surprising 3rd place given how many events he travels to. I
And
think-
given how many different characters he made top cuts in those events with.
Yeah, like do we actually have that? Let me figure that out. He had Morgan. He had
Joe.
Where the hell is? Yeah,
Ringman.
Joe. He had
Joe.
Joe Hill.
Joe Hill.
Joe. Okay, he had Joe again, and then he had Life. He innovated the Life Ringman deck for the Rockstar 2K.
So that's very
Well-
surprising. You know, 6 appearances with 6 different characters, I think.
I think he played
Yeah.
Joe twice. I think.
Oh, okay.
Could be
Yeah.
wrong.
And he had the Ringman deck at the previous PTC in Poughkeepsie. Or is it just an Empire Circuit?
No, it was a PTC. Just he didn't take it down.
Yeah, he got knocked out by me.
We have 5 players tied for 5th this year. Garrett Brett, no, not tied for 5th, tied with 5. We had Garrett Brett, who made 5 Top Cuts appearances stateside. Jeffrey Giggles Khan with 5 Top Cuts appearances stateside. And Miles Tyler with 5 Top Cut appearances stateside. And Miles Tyler is the opposite end of Tim Keefe, where he made his appearances all with the same character.
They weren't the same deck, but they were close.
Very close. Some honorable mentions for people who made Top Cuts quite a bit. Brandon Jones, who won 2 events. He had 4 appearances, probably because he only went to 4 events.
Yeah, he didn't come out. He's a Vegas player, and he didn't come out to all of the East Coast, Midwest Coast kind of stuff.
And King Salty himself, Phil Birch, also had 4 appearances.
Oh man, the last I saw of Phil Birch was getting dusted by Iori in the top 8 of Rockford. Who man?
Yeah,
Those are some bad beats.
Stefan, he's made Top Cuts with. He's gotten 2nd place with Iori like 3 times.
3 times, yeah. I want to say it's actually 3 consecutive events that he showed up to 3 events in a row, and he got 2nd place in all of them with Iori.
Amazing.
And so we're coming to the end of our hour. I think we want to do Broberg's top 5 for this week. So
Yes.
we're officially titling this segment that I pick a top 5, and then Sean and Matt argue with me about it.
This one's pretty clear cut.
Yeah, this is pretty clear cut, but for the ordering, and I think we've got a nice order. We're remembering those we lost this year. Top 5 banned cards of 2015.
Go for it, Kevin. It's all yours.
Do
Card
we have
number 1.
the pictures up, Matt?
Yep,
All
card
right,
number
so-
1, Master of Magnetism.
Yeah, so key part of the unblockable Andy deck, / unblockable Terry deck. It doesn't let your opponent block, so you kill them. It's kind of a boring card, so we just put it at the bottom here.
This was a panic ban, I think.
This was a panic ban. Yeah, this was kind of a panic ban or a philosophy ban where we don't want people playing this kind of game, so we're gonna take this tool away from them because it lets them play the game in a way we don't like.
We want in this game. We do not want unblockables in this game, which are in fighting games.
Yeah,
But we do. But we're perfectly fine with trying to make mill strategies, which would be equivalent to timing out in fighting games, which is overall frowned upon within the fighting game community.
Yeah.
Just would like to point that out.
So
that's a really good way to think of it.
This ban was a purely panic ban, where somebody demonstrated something that is an MPE, and we didn't. I mean, I'm kind of happy we didn't do the normal UFS thing where we let the game get ruined for 8 months and then try to pretend we just noticed it was an issue.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's always been the thing with UFS, even with other publishers. I mean, Fantasy Flight was the worst about that.
Well, I think Fantasy Flight's problems ran deeper than just one card letting people play a bad game.
Yeah, a whole set letting people playing a bad game.
So let's move on to number 4. We have the Mexican robot
Witzel,
itself.
Beat boot
The best-
computer.
the best robot master.
The
He
Master
was so good that they had to put him in a different game.
I mean, we touched a bit on Hoitzel earlier on, I think.
Yeah, bit
He's
too
Witzel.
much roulette wheel, spinning the wheel, rolling the dice. Bit too much power, damage output, and card advantage. So he got axed.
This was a quality of life ban for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we can say that, but we're talking about it, and if we want to look at actual raw facts, he did win two out of three possible events in Las Vegas, singles and teams, and he could have won. He could have won. He couldn't really have won Turbo, because that's a totally different story.
I mean, he did win Turbo at Gen Con.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So coming in number 3, we have the second stacker on the list.
Oh God, why is the picture so tiny?
Oh my God.
I was sent a
No!
tiny. I was sent a tiny image.
It is
There,
Gemini Man.
He's bigger.
We talked about him a little bit, I think, earlier as well.
And, want to talk about concrete things. He did top cut almost every event he was legal in.
9 of them.
Yeah.
I mean, numbers don't lie, unfortunately.
Yeah, he was, characters with the free abilities, you could even almost chalk it up to here. Free damage pumps, free speed pumps, free defense. Him and Gutzel, maybe just a bit of a misestimation on the part of the designers, how much those character cards would affect your deck, how much those speed pumps would affect your opponent's game. Moving on to number 2.
Skullman.
The Skulliest. Skullman is probably one of the hardest decks, not to build, but like to optimize, I think we've had in a very long time. But when you did that, and even when you didn't do that, and you just played, I remember in draft playing against a Skullman deck that had like 9 copies of Balance Fighters and 40 cards. It could kind of do some stuff.
Good times.
What? I'm sorry, Kevin.
Hey, I won. I don't care. I had a.
What do you mean you won?
Metal Man, I think. Face down cards.
Oh,
And-
I was talking about the 2K Managers Draft.
Oh yeah, whatever. I don't care. I mean, that was
he got destroyed, therefore he doesn't care.
No, dude, my deck. I hated my deck. Is why I don't care.
Manager draft decks can get really awkward really fast.
Yeah.
Well, I played the wheel in the beginning.
Well, we're not talking about the manager's draft. We're talking about
Yeah.
Skullman
I
getting
know.
banned.
I'm sorry.
So
It was fun.
yeah,
It
I'm
was
sorry you
fun.
brought it off topic too. So yeah, he's really hard to build. You can build him kind of mediocrely, and then you can kind of like go really crazy and do something like what we saw in the UK with Garrett Brett's deck, where it was playing this giant pile of 1-ofs, this this big long tail of meaty 4-ofs, the best cards available, and then 3-ofs, 2-ofs, and 1-ofs, all in I'm sure very finely tuned numbers, and it's really hard to beat that. And I think he got. And at the same time, you could also build the very straightforward kind of chaos deck that just says, well, how many ways can I find to say my cards get free this turn? +1 to my control checks, -1 to aggressive difficulty, clear my card pool, clear my card pool, clear my card pool, attack you forever, you're dead. So I think he got banned for that huge range, and that he's a really powerful character, to be sure. That's why he's on this list. He's in the number 2 spot. But the single best card to get banned this year, by far, I think, not close. The most powerful card, the card we will mourn the loss of the most.
And I'm not sure people really mourned the loss of this card. I think of all the cards on this list, I think that card is most universally agreed upon should have been banned.
You know how I just thought of this? I never had fun winning with Mourning the Lost. I never feel like, yeah, I outplayed my opponent. Yeah, I did a good job. I tried really hard for this. It was just like, I played some attacks, and I figured out my opponent couldn't block anymore, and I said, +7? Could you count your discard pile for me, please? And we have this this lame shuffle, bookkeeping moment, and then they're dead, and we go to the next game. Or I win the game because I build 5 and still have 2 blocks in my hand and just out-resource them to death. Or, Skullman. Skullman was thrilling to win with. Skullman was thrilling to play with and against because, it was just rolling the dice all the time and trying to just come out a little bit ahead. And figuring out, there's so many tense moments. Do I draw the high block I need off of his 4+? Does my opponent draw the attacks they need? Mourning Lost, not exciting, not tense. But super powerful. Best card best card in standard. The whole time it was legal, and I'm really glad it's gone.
Mm-hmm. That card probably should have left when Kaplow did.
I tend to agree.
Yup.
Okay.
Yep.
So that wraps up our year-end review. If anybody out there in internet land think we missed something or would like to add something, please don't hesitate to do so on our Facebook page at facebook.com/, Rochester CCG. Before we wrap things up for the night, let's talk about upcoming events. And really, next week's show is the upcoming event special, where much the same way we did our Gen Con survival guide back in August, or July rather, next week will be the Las Vegas survival guide. And Kevin Broberg, I have figured out, in my saltiness of Kim, what I would like your top 5 to be next week.
What
The
is
top
that?
5 ways to beat Kim. Or maybe
All right.
top 5 cards to beat Kim.
I'm in it. I'm all over that one. I think that's a great topic.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
So
you have.
I will put the tools in your belt so that you can have the anti-Kim spray to defeat Kim.
I mean,
And
Las
then
Vegas,
Kim will draw his answers anyways.
No, he won't. These aren't
Yeah, he
these
will.
aren't cards you can add like that. That's weighted in the rating.
You can just Spiders and Dragons his Kwang Kang Nim.
Boom.
Boom.
Answers, 4 days.
So that's next week's special, the Las Vegas Survival Guide. Kevin and I are, this is our 4th or 5th year going to Las Vegas.
Is it really?
Yeah,
God, how long have I been playing this game? What the hell?
and we'll give people some tips on how to, not go too crazy in Las Vegas, because that city you can spend as much or as little as you'd like.
Yeah, one of our friends was looking to go and trying to minimize costs out. So I was Googling, and you can stay in a hostel for $9 a night if you really want to.
Matt, you can go to a hostel for $9 a night.
No thanks.
And I mean, from what I
My
know of
investments are
seeing
in
film-
other things.
What I know of seeing films entitled Hostel, they have really good hospitality.
See, what I know about hostile is, when people are hostile towards you, you usually get beat up.
No, it's HOSTEL.
Oh. Alrighty. Anything else we need to shore up for tonight? Other than reminding everyone to trade in your Nevosas to Rochester CCG so I can sell them to people who desperately, desperately need them.
I think we're good.
All right, then. With that, we'll call the night, and we'll see you guys next week.
Next year.
Next year.
Happy 2015, everyone.
Dad.
Yep.
Be safe tomorrow night. Don't party too hard. And we'll see you next week.